If you are or you're planning on running ads to get clients for your either agency or your coaching business, I urge you to watch this super short video before you press launch. And the reason being is simply because if you don't implement the one thing that I'm gonna walk through in this video, I promise you, you're either, number one, not gonna get results, period. And I can say that with confidence because it actually happened to us before we implemented it. We couldn't get results for this one client. I'm gonna tell you the story. Or number two, if you do get results, they're not gonna be at the level in which they could be if you implement this one thing. So let me jump into it. We signed a client about probably 4 months ago at this point. And in the first 2 weeks of their ads being up, we were not getting the person on the phone that we wanted to get on the phone. The person that we wanted to get on the phone for this client was law firm owners with 1 to 10 attorneys, okay? That was exactly who their ideal client was. Obviously, they ran a law firm marketing agency. And we couldn't get them on the phone. And we were scratching our heads. We was like, this offer is amazing. Like, the offer was amazing. We knew that if lawyers were seeing this offer, they would want this thing. It was different. It was superior to everything else that was in the market. We were just dumbfounded. It was like, what's going on? And the one simple change that we made, okay, and it's gonna be super tangible for you. So listen up. The one simple change that we made was the audience. The problem was we had an amazing offer. We had great creatives, we had amazing copy, and it just wasn't being shown to the right person. And the reason it wasn't being shown to the right person was because the right person was so specific. It was a law firm owner who, number one, is specific anyway, a law firm owner, right? And then number two, it was a law firm owner who had 1 to 10 attorneys, right? Who was working for the law firm. So it was such a specific person, and they just were not, the ads just were not getting shown to that specific person. So here's what we did. And by the way, if you work with if you have like an e-commerce agency and you only work with companies above 100K per month, for example, right? You don't work with anyone below, or you, even like, you have a dentist agency, or you work, you have a B2B coaching offer where you only work with, for example, coaches, other coaches above 50K per month, right? My point is that you have a very specific offer for a very specific type of person. If you have like a B2C offer where it's quite broad, you can just run to interest on Facebook. That's fine. Nice and broad, that's fine. But if you have a specific offer, for a certain type of person, you have to implement this one thing. And that one thing, as I said before, was changing the audience. So what did we change it to? We changed it to a lookalike, okay? Now, what's the lookalike based on? Well, we actually have a couple different, kind of tiers for lookalikes, right? Basically with lookalikes, the core idea is that you want to get as close to source as possible. What does as close to source as possible mean? Essentially, all it means is that the closest to source is your current clients, right? Because if somebody's your current client, that means they're qualified. That means they've got the budget to pay you because they're a client. Like that is the closest to source. So you want to build your lookalikes out from that source kind of nucleus almost, right? So hence, the first lookalike you should create is a lookalike on your current client list. That's only going to work if you have at least, I would say, 100 current clients. If you don't, then obviously, if you run like a marketing agency and you have 20 clients, you have 50 clients, you're not going to be able to build a lookalike off of that, right? It's just too small. Okay, so what's the next tier down? Well, the next tier down would be all of your past sales calls, assuming that all of your past sales calls are actually qualified. So if you've had past sales calls with qualified prospects in the past, download that file as a CSV. If you use Calendly or Schedule Once, you can literally just export all of your past sales calls as a CSV file and then upload that straight into Facebook, right? Build a lookalike on that. In terms of what lookalikes and the structure of that, I'll get onto that here in a minute. So that's the second best. The third best would be like your opt-ins, okay? So if you've ran ads in the past and you got a bunch of opt-ins, again, this is provided that those opt-ins were good, right? You could have a bunch of past sales calls, for example, but if none of the sales calls were qualified, that's not gonna be a good list for you, right? The point is that the list has to be exactly the type of prospect that you're wanting to attract. Exactly. So again, if you have an e-commerce agency and you only want to work with companies above 200K a month, every single lead on that CSV list has to be above 200K per month, right? And what I'm going to get into here in a minute as well is the client that I'm referencing, this was a new offer. So he didn't have any of this stuff. So I'm going to get into the list that we created for him that absolutely crushed it, right? And so the next one down from that, okay, so you got your clients, you've got your past sales calls, you've got your opt-ins, and then you've got other things like you can look at your Instagram followers or your social followers. You can look at your pixel data as well if you got some pretty solid pixel data on there. But the one that we implemented for this client, which by the way, again, we didn't get any results initially in the first like 2 weeks. We just couldn't get the right prospects on the phone. And then it's literally the day that we launched these new ads with this new lookalike on this specific list that I'll get onto here in a minute. That day, we literally booked like 2 calls. And from there on, ever since, we booked 2 to 3 qualified sales calls every single day. Okay, just by changing this list. And with this specific client, again, he didn't have any of the other lists. So what did we do for him? Well, we got him to get a lead sourcer, literally just paid a lead sourcer like you would probably do for your outbound emails if you run email outreach, for example, right? Pay a lead sourcer, okay, to get a lead list of 1,000 leads. And again, these leads have to 100% be exactly the type of prospect that it is that you want, okay? Law firm owners with 1 to 10 attorneys, cool. 1,000 leads who are law firm owners specifically with 1 to 10 attorneys, right? E-commerce above 200K a month, right? You get the point. 1,000 lead lists with those people. And then what you need to do is you need to make sure that the columns, the information that you have in order to build an effective lead list for Facebook, you need to have first name, you need to have the last name in separate columns, and you also need to have their email. Now, if any extra information on that, that's amazing, because the more information, the better the match quality is going to be. But the bare minimum needs to be first name, last name, and email all in separate columns so you can match that up inside of Facebook, right? Upload that in Facebook. And then what you want to do is you want to build a 1% lookalike and a 2% lookalike off of that custom lead list. Okay, 1% and a 2%. Of course, you can test 3, you can test 4, you can test 5, but we found that 1% and 2% on that custom lead list crushes it. And that is literally the single change that we made. And at the end of the day, if your ads, okay, again, for somebody in particular, right, you got a certain type of ideal client, right? It's not broad, it's not a B2C offer, it's a law firm owner, it's a dentist, it's a an e-commerce company doing 100K per month, it's an agency owner doing 50K per month or more, right? You specific type of person, I highly recommend that you implement this process, you launch some lookalike audiences, and it's going to massively increase the quality of the calls that you generate, first things first, because they're all gonna match exactly who you want. But more importantly as well, it will actually also increase the volume, because now your offer is only being shown to people who are actually your ideal client. So obviously more people are gonna take you up on your offer, provided your offer is actually good. And that's a topic for another video, but hopefully that makes sense. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video if you found this useful. And with that being said, I will see you in the next one.